Today we are going to talk about the upcoming Bleach anime and all the details associated with it. From the staff to the streaming rights to the possible changes and everything in between, I believe that this will be the quintessential video that encapsulates why Bleach is about to make a defining statement this year. As always, if you enjoy the content, please like, comment, and subscribe. With the pleasantries out of the way, let us begin. The Bleach 1000-Year Blood War anime is currently set to air in October later this year. Due to the massive IP that is the Bleach franchise, a lot is riding on Bleach to have a good product. This video will be broken up into multiple chapters that will address and inform different aspects of the upcoming anime, and I hope you guys come out of this understanding more about why Bleach's anime could be one of the greatest comebacks of all time. Bleach fans who might have been worried about the anime adaptation staying true to Kubo's true intentions can rest easy because on multiple occasions, Kubo and the staff have made it clear that he is involved in every stage of the animation process. Kubo is drawing storyboards for them, giving them notes and ideas for story components, extra scenes, and extra battles. Much akin to the Wano Country adaptation in One Piece, Bleach's upcoming anime will be the superior canon because Kubo plans to include ideas he was unable to flesh out in the manga into the anime. Kubo has been involved in the selection of voice actors and he has been attached at the hip to the director and series composers of Bleach. He is so involved that he was in the studio with the voice actors the day they recorded their lines for episode 1. I think it's safe to say that no matter what story direction Bleach goes into, and no matter what changes are made or not made, it will be the definitive interpretation of Kubo's magnus opus. With the globalization of anime and the ever-growing popularity of streaming services, anime has entered an age where in order to watch your favorite shows in the West, it's not about turning on the channel at the right time. Instead, it's about subscribing to the streaming service that has the rights to stream your show where you are. That and pirating, if that's your thing, I guess. I want to take a moment to explain to the best of my ability the idea that goes into streaming and how it matters to Bleach. So, when an anime is getting made, a production committee gets together to say, hey, there's money in this manga, so we want to make an anime out of it. Of course, the origins of the production committee differ from series to series. Shueisha can put word out that a show is up for an anime and studios and companies can step up to get it. Or, they can be the ones to initiate interest in the series of your choice. Point is, because anime is a Japanese product, before it gets made, it has to find investors in Japan to fund it. And before any anime hits the screen, it had to have been funded by someone, somewhere. From there, because anime's target audience, as much as some loud Westerners might not want to hear it, is Japan. Japan makes Japanese anime for Japanese people. Because anime is a global entertainment giant, people in other parts of the world might want to watch it. Enter streaming services. A streaming service in the West might be inclined to buy the streaming rights of a show so they can air it on their platform and draw in viewers and subscribers. These streaming services do not own the anime. They do not have influence over the choices within the anime. All they have the right to do is stream it in their area of the world. For example, Japan makes One Piece, Crunchyroll streams it for the Western audience. Crunchyroll can go to Toei and say, make Luffy have white hair. That's not their place and they have no power to do so. They just stream the shows, but what they do get is exclusivity. What do I mean by this? Well, it's rather straightforward when you think about it. If I pay for the streaming rights to a certain show, only I get to stream it. In addition to that, because I paid for it, I can set whatever price I want my audience to pay in order to see it. So you might pay more money to watch, let's say, Vinland Saga on Amazon, or maybe JoJo's Bizarre Adventure on Netflix, and you might have to pay less to watch Attack on Titan on Crunchyroll's Verve. In any case, that is the information you need to process at this next step. Bleach, as you can imagine, is a massively lucrative IP. Right now, Kubo is a money-generating machine. Everything he touches sells well. From his Burn the Witch volumes to Bleach to his artwork and exhibition, Kubo, and Bleach specifically, are very marketable. So if you're in the West and want to draw more eyes to your content, you want to get your hands on Bleach. It only makes sense. So what happens if, for example, this is just an example, what happens if Netflix, Amazon, and Crunchyroll want an anime? Well, you then have something called a bidding war. Who is willing to pay the most for the product? This can go on for several months, maybe more, I'm not sure. But if you want the product, you will have to be willing to pay more than your competitors for it. So then we come to Bleach. Who is getting the streaming rights for Bleach? Current news suggests that the most likely distributor of the Bleach 1000-Year Blood War arc will be Disney+. This obviously has people in a bit of a ruckus, and I understand. But instead of emotionally reacting, I think it's important to just take a step back and just breathe. Just calm down and let's analyze this. So, there are pros and cons to this as there are to literally every other thing in this world. Let's start with the bad. If Disney Plus truly gets the streaming rights to Bleach and chooses not to simulcast it, Bleach could get locked in what has been aptly dubbed Disney jail. All this term means is that a show is airing weekly in Japan, and the Western distributor decides that they want to release all the episodes at once for their viewers to binge. And so, even though in Japan the series is dropping week to week, the audience in the West has to wait for many months before they can legally watch official episodes of their series. The obvious problem with that is that most fans will not wait for the official episodes to come out. They will find other ways to get what they want. And then, by the time the official streaming holder puts out the content like, hey guys, here's your show, watch it and give us views, all their fans would have already watched it to their heart's content, and then the ratings that do come in will not reflect the true popularity of the show. This streamer then deduces that the show must not be very popular, at which point the overall value of said show is demeaned. If Disney, or I suppose I should say, if Viz does not make it so that Disney simulcasts Bleach, we will be in trouble. That's just a fact. The other aspect to this that seems to be getting more traction than it's worth is the censorship. Disney does not have the power to influence the creation and production of Bleach content. They can only stream it. They cannot influence the gore and blood in the show because they are not on the production team. But even if they could, now again, they can't, but let's just say they could, the original anime airing in Japan will still remain unaffected. Any Blu-rays that come out will be unaffected. And that is the most important part. So now that we've tackled the negatives, what are the positives? There are a couple of super positive aspects to Disney whether people want to admit it or not. Firstly, the reach and scope of Disney Plus is massive compared to that of Crunchyroll. Of course, Crunchyroll is the main source of anime content in the West, and fair play to them, but Disney Plus just supplanted Netflix as the subscription service with the most subscriber base. That level of reach is undoubtedly a feather in Bleach's cap. Another reason to be happy about Bleach being streamed by Disney is the marketing ploys of Disney. Say what you want about them, but these dudes are like the kings of marketing, and I expect them to place Bleach at the forefront of everything anime. That could only be good for us as a fandom. So all in all, Disney Plus is a mix of high risk, high reward. If we are still not simulcasted, I still believe Bleach's core fanbase will be enough to keep it relevant within the anime community. We kept our show relevant when we had no anime and no manga. I think we can handle this, if it comes to it. Now we've gotten to the really good part, the staff. These are the folk who are truly going to make the magic happen. Bleach's 1000-Year Blood War arc will be animated by Studio Pierrot, and the comeback story that could be as it pertains to Pierrot makes my heart flutter. I hope I'm saying Pierrot right. Pierrot? I'm going to say Pierrot. A once dominant studio that boasted the likes of Yu Yu Hakusho, Naruto, and Bleach seemingly falls into obscurity amidst failed or mitigated adaptations like Boruto, Black Clover, and Tokyo Ghoul, while other studios like Bones, Ufotable, David Production, and MAPPA rose to the apex of the anime studio world. It was all but bare bones littered around this once great studio when an interesting fellow came to the fore. This interesting individual came with an idea, an original anime, one set in a cyberpunk futuristic world, a show called Akudama Drive. A relative unknown took the anime scene by storm as one of the most underrated gems of that season, and it reminded everyone that Pierrot still had talent. The man behind this groundbreaking feat was the talented Tomohisa Taguchi. And with Bleach coming back, Pierrot turned to their up-and-coming gem-inducing director to spearhead what might be their last chance to redeem themselves and place their studio at the fore of the anime world. In order to understand the scale of this anime production, it's important to understand the role of a director in media like this. The key job of a director is to read the source material, interpret it, and understand it. They then have to come up with a visualization of what they envision the story elements as. This visualization now has to be put onto the anime screen. He accomplishes this by hiring the people he thinks are right for the vision he is trying to create. He gets other directors who will work under him to instruct the animators within their particular niche. For all intents and purposes, when you think about all your favorite animes and movies, the director is the most important part of it all because what you see on screen is what he imagined in his head. How it looks, the vibe, the coloring, voice acting, direction, and overall tone of the series is there because the director imagined it and wanted to make it into reality. So when we look at the work of Tomohisa Taguchi, There are a few things that stand out, and it's vital that we understand where he's coming from. I took the liberty of watching some of his work so you don't have to, and I've come up with a concise idea of his style of work. Obviously, this is my interpretation, so I could be wrong. Tomohisa Taguchi as a director falls into a category I look to call visual directors. More so than other directors, he puts a ton of emphasis on the visuals. I know that might sound obvious, but think about it for a moment. Directing in anime isn't just about visuals. It's about music, voice acting, dialogue, and a lot more, quite frankly. You'll have directors who care a lot about the pacing and storytelling. I call them story directors. You have others who are more concerned about putting on a show. They care more about wowing you with amazing animation and sakuga, and I call them sakuga directors. These aren't official terms, by the way. This is just something I call them. Taguchi is a visual director. He cares about the look of his work more so than anything. He cares about the color palette and seems to spend a lot of time making sure that the appearance of his shows matches the idea he has in his mind. The pacing and animation will all come later. He is here to make sure that this anime looks the way he wants it to look. And when you observe the Bleach Jump Festa trailer to the official preview and key visuals, you can see the effects Taguchi has on Bleach. Here's a good example of how Taguchi impacts the look of an anime. On screen right now is the key visual from the Bleach trailer. You can tell a lot about Taguchi's interpretation of how Bleach should be presented with the dark shadows and contrasting character outlines. Now, look at this. This is the same photo, but it's essentially removed the Taguchi essence from the photo. If you said that this was a key visual for an anime, people would not have an issue with it. After all, it's not bad at all. But the moment you compare that to what Taguchi originally intended, you immediately see exactly what Taguchi has planned for Bleach. You were then able to see the benefits of having a director like Taguchi on board because his key visual is overflowing with edge, spectacle, and grandeur. It looks darker, yes, but it feels fitting for the war arc we're headed into. For a director who cares so much about his visuals, his compositing has to be stellar, and throughout his work over the years, even on shows that don't have his balls to the walls approach, you can very clearly tell that this director cares about his looks. Now, in order to be fair, which I try to be, Taguchi isn't all good, or rather, it isn't all green flags. There are a few red flags to worry about, and I have to talk about it. First of all, the Taguchi effect I described can simply be dubbed as a word called compositing. A good way to describe compositing is like this. You place a character along with any background or prop into one scene, and then you place several layers of lighting, VFX, color, and gradients into the scene to manipulate the look of the visual. You can change the time of day, the color palette, the effect, and so on. We call this effect compositing, and it's very important because if I were to point out a possible negative of Taguchi, it is undoubtedly his compositing. It's great and I absolutely adore it, but bro, sometimes it can get pretty freaking ridiculous. And maybe even beyond that, the burden it places on his team has to be tremendous because for every action they complete, they gotta go back to make sure each frame and shot has the necessary compositing he wants. It's a very simple calculus. More compositing equals more work, which requires more time and more energy. So it all comes down to how he directs and manages his team of animators. If he has a solid schedule and ample people to work with, they can pull this off. But if not, it is possible that we might be placing a massively heavy burden on the animation staff. All in all, Taguchi feels like the right man for the job, and I will defend and support him as best as I can. He understands the scale and edge of Bleach, and it will only serve us well to hope that he does things the right way. I think that right now, Taguchi is on the precipice of becoming a tier 1 director, but it all depends on how he handles Bleach. Right now, in the spirit of being fair, I think Taguchi is a high-end tier 2 director on the cusp of breaking through. As a musician myself, I care a lot about the series composer for any anime I am emotionally invested in. Bleach fans have been lucky to have been blessed with the amazing work of Shirasakusu, who is a legend in his own right. To add even more dubs to the Bleach community, Shirasakusu will be returning to create more music for the Bleach franchise. This news makes me happy, because this dude Sakusu defined and solidified the tone of Bleach with his musical aptitude. Bleach has always been thought of to be one of the shows that boasted absolutely amazing music, and this is the man behind it all. We caught a glimpse of his current work in the trailer, and I was not disappointed. He has all the usual elements of an anime soundtrack, and it's all great, but Sakusu really likes his horns and chants, specifically the chants. Almost every major Sakusu project will have chants in all manner of languages from Latin to English and everything in between. It elevates his work to an almost mythical level and captures the supernatural elements of Bleach like very few others could. If you want to get a glimpse on the wealth of shows he's worked on, think Evangelion, Magi, Berserk, Iron Blood Orphans, and obviously Bleach. Brace yourselves, Bleach fans. Sakusu's coming to town, and he's undoubtedly a tier 1 series composer. I'm not going to spend too much time here since we're also well versed with our very own Masashi Kudo. Returning to the series after being the character designer on the original Bleach anime, Kudo brings his elite, detailed yet animator-friendly designs to Taguchi's production, and his addition is something we can all smile about. I will personally rate Masashi Kudo's talent as a character designer as tier 1. He's one of the best in the business, in my opinion. An anime art director is the person in charge of the background art for the series. They work closely with the director to establish the background that he wants, and then he draws many artboards that the other animators can use as a reference for their work. It may be weird to think about this since his title is art director, but as far as I know, I may be wrong on this. He is the art director, but it's not like he's going around making sure the character art looks right. What the art director does is that he is in charge of the background outlook, and he works with the director of photography in crafting the best possible outlook for the anime. Bleach's art director is Yoshio Tanioka. I looked into his profile and I believe that his best work has undoubtedly been when he's worked with Taguchi. He is credited as being the art director on Akudama Drive and Taguchi's Persona movies, and he's certainly talented, but I don't think anyone's losing their minds over him. I will say that one of the most gripping aspects of Akudama Drive is the aesthetic it had, and that is down to multiple facets, including the background. The world that Taguchi and Tanioka created was so strong that it truly immersed you into their world. All in all, however, I think the art director for Bleach has to be an upper tier 3, in my opinion. Series composition is a very important component in an anime production, and it's important for a very simple reason. So, in Bleach's case, Kubo draws his manga, and his manga has numerous elements in it, from the art, the dialogue, and the story itself. Before we can translate his work onto the anime screen, someone has to read Bleach and write a composition based on it that the anime can then follow. This task is also where the pacing of a show is decided. If you've ever watched an anime and felt like it was too fast-paced or too slow, the blame would be placed at the feet of whoever the series composition was done by. They are the ones to decide what happens when, what story elements are included, what lines of dialogue remain, changes, or is axed out completely. So hopefully you can see why they are extremely vital to an anime team. Bleach has 2 series composition writers. The first is Masazaki Hiramatsu, and the second is Tomohisa Taguchi. Now, Hiramatsu is a tough one because I looked into his records and there's not a lot he's worked on. At least there's not a lot we know he's worked on. That makes me a little worried because it's not like it means he's gonna suck. It's just that I can't use his prior work as a stepping stone. That being said, the fact that Taguchi is also in charge of the series composition quells my fears because he has had experience being a storyboard director to being in charge of a screenplay and then composition. And for all his works I have seen, slow pacing is not a problem. If anything, you might be bothered at how fast he might go. And the news about each Bleach episode being about 4 chapters per episode makes even more sense because Taguchi doesn't like to take it slow. All in all, with a combination of both Taguchi and Hiramatsu, I think Bleach's series composition deserves a tier 3 ranking. I'll have to be convinced before I'm moved. At the moment, I want to highlight 2 key animators for the 1000 Year Blood War of Bleach. More information will come out the closer we get to the anime, but for now, we know at least 2 key animators who will be working on Bleach, and I want to talk about them. Effect animation god Takashi Hishimoto is slated to be working on the Bleach anime. His is an overflowing outpour of talent specifically tailored for effect, but in my opinion, specifically explosions. I've seen the man's work and you're looking at it right now. He's great at animating sequences of explosions that make you forget about the destruction that is being caused. You just get mesmerized by the action and effect on screen. He has worked on Bleach in the past and has credits in great anime such as Attack on Titan, Bungo Stray Dogs, the Evangelion movies, and served as the effect animation director on great projects like Dragon Ball Super Broly and Gintama The Final. Bleach and Taguchi have hit a home run with the addition of the ever-talented Takashi Hishimoto. If I were to step into the mind of Taguchi, I'm 100% having this dude work on Yamamoto's Bankai, Bambieta's Explosion, and the resultant chaos of Kenpachi slicing the meteor. The effect animation god is undoubtedly a tier 1 talent, and I'm so glad that he's going to be working on Bleach. The ace of the Naruto franchise, Hiroyuki Yamashita, is also expected to be working on Bleach. He is responsible for some of the most iconic moments in Naruto, and I'll put a bit of his work on screen for you to see. This dude is special. He excels at hand-to-hand combat, sword clashes, but to me, he's absolutely stellar at animating sequences where one person is fighting numerous opponents. I can see him working on the Kenpachi vs Unohana fight. Oh my god, I'm getting so excited. I can see him working on Yamamoto vs Yhwach, and honestly, He's so good, just put him anywhere and he will transform that scene into something people genuinely resonate with. He is a truly tier 1 talent, and I am truly happy that he is going to be working on Bleach. Taguchi is just picking up all the talented people from everywhere. Like Naruto, your ace, give me him. Alright, Attack on Titan, give me him. He's just going all around grabbing the top dudes from other anime, and you know what? I kind of like it. Next, let's talk about the animation directors. These next two categories are extremely fascinating to me. The job of an animation director is to ensure that the characters look like they are supposed to. They are interested in the consistency of the art, and it's their job to make sure everything looks on model. Typically, the animation director, due to its close job description to the character designer, used to be something that the character designer would just do. But now, as the amount of work being done increased, it has become its own niche. Bleach has 3 animation directors. Now, the intriguing thing about this is that while you might expect more animation directors to be a good thing, in this case, more animation directors basically means more cooks in the kitchen, which usually leads to inconsistent production. 1 animator director is too little. 2 is fine, but you're on the precipice. 4 or 5 is a little too much, and let's not talk about Boruto having like 15 and above, but whatever. And so 3, I believe, is the soft spot. It's just enough people to retain consistency while still offering a lot of freedom of expression and light workload. The 3 chief animation directors of Bleach are Kumiko Takayanagi, Michio Hasegawa, and Sei Komatsubara. All of these individuals have worked on some stellar projects over the years, ranging from Akudama Drive, which honestly, most of the Bleach core staff are just coming over from working on Akudama Drive and Taguchi's Persona movies. But in any case, our animation directors have worked on JoJo's, One Piece Strong World, Attack on Titan, Demon Slayer's Entertainment District arc, Fate Zero, Fate Grand Order, and Sword Art Online Alicization. Am I saying that right? Alicization. Yeah, I think I'm saying that right. If I'm grading our chief animation directors the way I've been so far, I'd say collectively they're tier 2. They're a solid group of veterans who know what they're doing. This right here is probably the section people care most about. The action animation. Bleach 1000 Year Blood War is a war full of battles. Everywhere you look, there is a fight happening, and for that reason, the action and effects animation is going to have to bring your A game. But after you see the action animation directors, I think you can confidently believe that Bleach is about to make some serious noise. So, what is the job of an action animation director? These cats are focused on the consistency and fluidity of action animation. While the chief animation directors care about art consistency and perfection, the action animation directors care about animation consistency and perfection. And for that, we have 3 directors who will oversee Bleach's animation. The legendary Satoshi Sakai, oh my god, Yoshihiro Kano, oh my god, and Young-Hoon Jung. These are the 3 men who will oversee Bleach's animation, and all 3 of these guys are amazing. Satoshi Sakai is tier 1. He has had his hand in some of the most amazing sequences in anime, from Attack on Titan, specifically the final season. He's the one who animated the rumbling, which in of itself was a jaw-dropping scene. I'll place his scenes on the screen right now so you can fathom how great Bleach is about to be. He's worked on Burn the Witch, Blue Exorcist, Death Note, Dororo, Dragon Ball Super, Fire Force, Gintama, Made in Abyss, Sword Art Online Alicization, and One Piece Film Gold. This man is a bona fide tier 1 animator, and his 2 compatriots are nothing to sneeze at either. Yoshihiro Kano has some of the most visually appealing scenes in Akudama Drive, and as someone who doesn't watch Sword Art Online, I decided to check out his work over there. And oh my goodness, this dude is legit. His sword battle scenes in Sword Art Online left my jaw on the floor, and I smile when I think about the fact that these dudes are about to bring that level of detail, that level of spectacle, that level of animation. They're bringing that to Bleach. That's so cool. That's so cool. That makes me so happy because this dude is legit, boys. This guy's legit. Our 3rd action director is Young-Hoon Jung, and unfortunately, I was unable to find visual examples of his work. I know he's worked on Fate Stay Night's Unlimited Blade Works and Fate Zero along with Naruto, Sword Art Online, and Bleach in the past, but I can't find it, so I can't really give an opinion on his style of animation. But if he's handled key animation for those shows, he's undoubtedly good enough for Bleach. All 3 of Bleach's action and effects animators are tier 1, and I am almost 100% sure that Bleach is about to look visually appealing on all levels. But you might be wondering, why am I not 100%? Well, that's because we haven't spoken about these last 2 staff categories, which for me takes it from a 96% correct 100%. Let's talk about it. It's time to talk about the CGI directors because yes, Bleach will have CGI. CGI has become a core part of multiple anime productions, and that's not a problem. Bleach has 2 CGI directors in Kazushi Goto and Toshihiro Sasaki. Here's the interesting thing. They don't have the level of credits as the other names on this list, but based on what I saw them do with Taguchi on Akudama Drive, I cannot express how much I believe in their abilities. Akudama Drive has really good CGI, but the CGI I was most impressed with was the rain. This is a very subjective opinion, and I fully understand that what I'm about to say might be ignorant. But in my opinion, the only rain effect I like better than our current CGI direction team is the rain Ufotable makes. Akudama Drive's rain is only second to Ufotable's rain. And before the trailer for Bleach came out, I was on a stream and I told y'all, watch what Taguchi and the squad do with the Protect Society scene. I used Akudama Drive as a reference and predicted how Taguchi would handle it. And lo and behold, exactly as I called it, he took the rain effect he had in Akudama Drive, he put them in Bleach, and they look absolutely stunning. Bleach's CGI is about to look amazing. And when I think about things like this, it makes me laugh, and I'll tell you why it makes me laugh. Y'all went and let Taguchi get his hands on everything but the rain. When you see how good Taguchi and his squad are at their CGI rain, and then you realize that they gave everything but the rain in Bleach to him, we are about to be in for a treat. What is about to happen, what we are on the precipice for, is going to be amazing. It's going to be legendary. It's going to be groundbreaking. I firmly believe that. Because Kubo loves the rain. Kubo absolutely adores the rain. And right now, Kubo's rain, everything but the rain, and all of Bleach's amazing scenes that have to do with the weather are about to be given to the one squad other than Ufotable that I would want to handle it. And that is Tomohisa Taguchi's team comprised of these CGI directors. I am happy. The sum of these 2 guys, but specifically Sasaki, puts them in the tier 1 list. Alright then, I've saved one of the best for last, the director of photography. The director of photography has a very important role in the production of an anime. The DOP, which is what I'm going to call him, is the one who puts everything together from the compositing, lighting, filters, digital effects, the shading, the framing, where does what go on the shot, the particles, the colors, and so much more. They work closely with the directors because he needs to understand the vision the director has for what he wants the show to look like. And then this ever-talented director of photography has to go and make it happen. Just to make sure you guys understand what to look for, here's an example of an image before the DOP gets his hands on it and after. Here's the before, and now here's the after. Before, after. Before, after. Now let's look at another example. Here's the before, here's the after. Before, after. Before, after. As you can see, there is a massive effect a DOP can have on the compositing of a shot. They are extremely important. And Bleach's director of photography for the Blood War anime is one of the best out there. And I haven't seen people give him credit, and it bothers me. So I'm gonna give him the spotlight right now. Saki, this is for you. All right, my boy, this is for you. Bleach's director of photography is a man named Kazuhiro Yamada. Let's go through what he's worked on because when I saw this, my jaw hit the floor. I was absolutely dumbfounded when I saw what he's worked on. He worked as the director of photography on Akudama Drive. Again, Taguchi just brought his boys from Akudama Drive over to Bleach. That's what he did, and I love it. I love it. And by the way, everything you see on screen right now is Kazuhiro Yamada. Everything you see right now is him. So just so you understand how good this dude is. He was the director of photography on season 1 of Attack on Titan. He was also the director of photography on season 2 and season 3 of Attack on Titan. Everything made by Wit Studio for Attack on Titan happened with him as the DOP. He was the DOP on Wit Studio's Bubble movie, which mind you, was a visually spectacular production. It looked really good in my opinion. He was the director of photography for Death Note, iconic series. He was the DOP for Dororo, season 2 of Gintama, High School of the Dead, One Piece movie Strong World, and all of David Productions' JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. all of it. This man is one of the most talented individuals in the anime sphere, and he just got his hands on Tite Kubo's Bleach. He is now tasked with making sure that you feel the weight of desperation after Yuha Bach and his boys wrecked the Soul Society. He is now tasked with bringing all the iconic shots in Bleach to the forefront. It's now his job to make sure those shots hit home. Yamamoto's death, he needs to make sure it hits home. Ichigo saves Soul Society. Byakuya Zanpakuto shattering. Kenpachi versus Unohana. Ichigo going to the Soul King's palace. Ichigo's new Zanpakuto. Shunsui Kyotoku's Bankai. Kisuke Urahara's Bankai. Yoruichi Shihoin's God of Thunder. Yuha Bach versus Ichibei. All those iconic scenes. All those panels in Bleach that makes you just want to pause and just watch Kubo's art. He is now tasked with bringing Kubo's magnus opus to the forefront and making it into the iconic symbol of excellence it is. This man right here is upper tier 1. And when Bleach airs, you'll understand why. So there you have it, guys. Did I cover everyone? No, I did not. I specifically left some of the staff members out so that you could do your Cubology homework. I left out the art setting, color design, and editing staff members for Bleach. Go to Anime News Network, type in Bleach 1000 Year Blood War, and a list of all the staff members I mentioned will pop up. Find those categories and click on their names. That will take you to the credits, and you can see and judge their talents for yourself. You might be wondering, why didn't you just do this, Rebirth? Because I think it's important for anime fans to take their opinions into their own hands. The fact that I make this video, I could have a lot of input on your opinion on some of these guys, but I want you guys to have your own opinions. I want you guys to see their work for yourselves, and you can decide for yourself what you think. So yes, it is less work for me, but I also want you guys to go out there and actually see these talented individuals for yourself, because it'll make you appreciate what you see this October that much more. So anyway, I'll end by saying this. A lot of people are up in arms about Bleach's production, the supposed threat of Chainsaw Man. Is it split core? Is it long-running simulcast? Do they have the time? And you know what? I get it. I really do. But you gotta understand. There's a storm brewing. I don't care what anyone says. Even if Bleach gets locked in Disney Plus jail, nothing will change. You are underestimating the power of the Bleach fandom. I know we're not toxic enough to chase animators away and score that as vocal fans. I know we're not crazy enough to flood AnimeList.com with fresh accounts and reviews to keep our show at the top. I know we're not over the top enough to take over an online graffiti anime poster or whatever that was, but we do it where it counts. Bleach and Kubo are more profitable than ever before, and that is because of Bleach fans around the world. Because of Bleach fans around the world proving to the powers that be that we are dedicated, Kubo is now able to tell his superiors when and if he will write any content for them. Because of the support we have given the franchise, Studio Payroll is putting everything they've got into making sure this production is a success. Because of the support of the fandom, Disney Plus is willing to pay big money to waive off other competitors for the rights to exclusively stream Bleach. I don't care how anyone spins it. Chainsaw Man, Mob Psycho, My Hero, I'm not here to compete. I'm here to enjoy them all. And I will bask in the glory of Kubo as Bleach begins its ascent to the top of the anime world where it should have been from the very beginning. Let me know what you think about this video in the comment section down below. If this content is entertaining to you, please hit the subscribe button and join the realm. All relevant links will be in the description, and don't forget to follow me on Twitch because I will be watching the Bleach anime there every week along with all the other great shows we've got out. Great things are coming, guys, and I am ready to get this started. This is your boy Rebirth, signing off. Peace.